Hi and welcome back to another video. Apologies for wearing sunglasses as I'm talking to you, but it's really bright outside, so I hope that you don't mind. If you're new around here or if you've recently subscribed to my channel, let me just offer you a very warm welcome and thank you just for watching my videos and for being very supportive with welcoming me to Australia, to the Gold Coast, and thank you also for sharing so many tips on where to go, where to eat. So let me just start this video by saying thank you. If you're new to this channel, The Intuitive Medic, this is where I combine medicine, psychology and spiritual concepts to help you heal, grow and live authentically. This is also a platform where I vlog my life as a doctor, and I also am vlogging my huge life transition, which involved moving from the UK and leaving my job in the NHS to move over alone at the age of 43 to Australia and start a brand new life over here. So in this video I'm gonna give you some updates on the more practical side of things, so work, visa, medical license, housing, transport, my bike which I got fixed. Then I'm going to give you my first impressions of the Gold Coast and Australia. Although I have lived here before, I lived in Perth and Broome when I was 25 or 26 years old. And guess what job I had when I was living in Broome? I was actually working with camels. I know, very random, right? So I used to go, I digress here, but let me just tell you a story. My ex-partner and I used to go to this camel farm, Broome Camel Safari as it was called, and the owner's name was Alison. We used to go and groom the camels, walk them to the beach, help the tourists to get on the camels, take loads of photos and then bring the camels back. My job for 3 to 6 months in Broome, and that was on a working holiday visa. And coming over here now as a medic is, as you can imagine, a very different experience. And I'm very grateful to be, not that I didn't like working with camels, but yeah, working here in the emergency department is probably more suited for a long-term career, let's say. So let's come back to the more practical things about this move. Let's start with my medical license. So good news, APRA has issued my medical license. However, my visa, my 482 visa has still not come through. So I contacted the hospital and they're very understanding. So I was due to start work on Monday next week, so on the 1st of September. However, that has been delayed. And at this stage I don't know when I can actually start work, so I'm feeling a little bit like a tourist right now and I'm enjoying every moment, just getting up in the morning, getting some rest. I'm really taking the time to explore the Gold Coast, because once I start work, although there will be days where I can go on adventures and relax, I think now is just that perfect time to do as many of those activities as possible. So in one of the vlogs that I posted a few days ago, which was I think UK Doctors First Few Days in Australia Part 2, I was going on a bike ride and I was telling you that I had bought this bike from Kmart, which I was really happy with, but there was this clicking sound and something just didn't feel right. So I called Kmart and I said, would it be possible for me to bring the bike back for somebody to have a look at? And they said that the person who normally assembles the bike is a subcontractor, so I could bring the bike in and then in 3 or 4 days he would look at it. So I thought, let me just have a look to see if there are any independent bike shops in the area, and there is one literally 5 minutes from where I'm staying, and the chap in there was brilliant. And he actually made me laugh because he asked who assembled this bike, because it's not assembled correctly, which we knew, right, because of the clicking sound. And anyway, it turned out that the wheels had been put on back to front and the gears were not assembled correctly either, hence the clicking sound. So he just serviced the bike and now it is so much better. The clicking has gone, so I can ride on the beach and it's quiet, it's therapeutic. Eventually I will of course invest in a better quality bike and I will go to an independent bike store, but for now that bike is perfect and I'm very happy with it. The other thing I was going to give you an update on is I have ordered a mic. Thank you very much for the feedback and the recommendation. I know that when I've been posting videos by the beach, it's been incredibly windy, and that affects the quality of these videos. So the mic is arriving tomorrow. The other bit of feedback that you guys have given me, which I've taken on board, is not to eat on camera. I'm sorry guys, you have to understand one thing. I usually eat super healthy. I mean, when I say healthy, I track all of my meals. I very rarely eat any junk food. I don't really drink alcohol, and I exercise most days. When I came over to Australia, I just needed a break from tracking, a break from worrying about, you know, exercising every day, just a break, and that reconnection with my inner child to say, what do you want to eat? You want a Cinnabon? Have a Cinnabon. And I was so excited about those moments that I just wanted to share them with you. But I do understand that watching me eat a Cinnabon with icing all around my mouth is probably not something that you want to see on YouTube. But I can't promise that I won't be eating on camera ever. It might happen. So if it does, you'd have to bear with me, because sometimes we just need a bit of balance in life, right? So thank you for your feedback about sun cream, wearing a wide brim hat, which I've also ordered. I will show you that in one of my vlogs. It's actually arriving tomorrow. 2 more quick updates before I give you my first impressions. So getting a car on the Gold Coast, to be honest with you, that wasn't really on my agenda, at least for 3 or 4 months. However, again, reading some of your comments and emails, my original plan was to cycle from where I'm living to work every day, but I can see how that might become a little bit difficult when it's 35, 40 degrees outside. And also if I'm finishing work at 11 o'clock at night, or if I'm doing a night shift and I have to be there for 10, I probably wouldn't feel comfortable cycling there, and I'm not too sure if the buses will be available at the times that I need to travel. So rather than committing and buying a car straight away, which would put a lot of pressure on me financially because I'm not working right now, I found this car subscription place on the Gold Coast, and it seems to be a really popular option over here in Australia. But your feedback would be appreciated on this as well. So it's called East Coast Subscriptions, and it works a little bit like a Netflix subscription. It's fully flexible, and within the cost you have your registration, insurance, everything is included. And then every week you pay a certain fee. Within that fee you can do a certain amount of mileage, and then when you don't need the car anymore, you give them 30 days notice and you just give the car back, and then you can just go and buy another one. So my plan is, so that I can explore more of the areas that I just can't access by bike, such as the hinterland, maybe drive to Brisbane, all of the places that you guys have recommended, like Lamington National Park, Springbrook National Park, Mount Tamborine. There is a place in, I think it's Currumbin or Coolangatta, I think it's Currumbin actually, called Pasture & Co. And I was looking to go there by bike, but it's too far. And also by public transport it would take almost 2 hours. So, you know, 30 minutes by car, I think it's probably more sensible and safer to go there. And they have the biggest lemon meringue pie I have ever seen in my life, and I actually just want to go there to eat and to show you that lemon meringue pie. That might be something I have to eat on camera, but we'll see. And then the other thing that you guys were asking about is the IELTS exam. Why, as a native speaker, did I have to sit an English exam? The reason being is because I actually grew up in a foreign country. I was born in the UK, but my parents moved to France when I was 9 years old, and I obviously went along with them. And then I left France when I was 18 to go back to the UK, which meant that I completed all of my secondary school education in a foreign country. So in order to get APRA registration, you need to prove that you completed 10 years worth of primary school and secondary school education in the UK or in an English-speaking country, which I couldn't prove. Hence why I had to sit an IELTS English language exam, which was absolutely fine. I'll make another video about it and explain what's involved, but it's mainly reading, writing, listening and speaking. But you do have to write an academic essay, and you also have to interpret data. It's not as straightforward as you'd think, but being a native speaker, it was fine. But I can see how it might be quite a tricky exam for some people to pass over here. Okay, let's get into the more exciting part of the video. First impressions of the Gold Coast and Australia. I think the first thing that hits you is the lifestyle. Life out here just feels calmer, slower, and definitely more outdoors focused, which I absolutely love. Just riding my bike along the coastal path, or going for a walk in the park and just watching the dogs play, or waking up first thing in the morning and getting a cup of coffee and going to watch the sunrise feels like medicine for the soul. And it's probably the most peaceful, the most settled, and the happiest I've felt in a really long time. And I think that's because the environment here really encourages you to just stop and be present. Yeah, morning walks, feeling the sand between your feet, the sound of the waves, the beautiful colours at sunrise. It all reminds you that life can be really simple, and that presence is more important than just constantly doing. Coming from the UK, where life for many years has felt really rushed and busy and quite stressful, this has been such a welcoming shift. And it's interesting because I feel so much more connected to myself over here. My intuition feels a lot clearer, my thoughts are a lot calmer. And what I love about living here is every day when I wake up, I feel like I can really connect to what my heart is trying to tell me. Let's talk about people. Even though I haven't met many people here yet, the warmth is incredible. When you're out and about here and you're walking on the beach, or you go to the supermarket, or you bump into a neighbour, people stop and make a conscious effort to have a chat with you. Everybody smiles at you. Everybody's friendly and happy. And I'm not saying that in the UK people are not friendly, because there are people who are positive and friendly, but there is a distinct difference between people here and people in the UK. And one of the things that I'm noticing the most is when I was in the UK, and especially when I was working in the NHS, the feedback that I used to get on a daily basis was, Beck, why are you always so happy? You know, what's making you so happy today? Why are you smiling? Like, and over time, because you want to fit in, you almost dim that side of yourself to fit in with everybody else and not get asked constantly, you know, why are you so happy? So when I'm here now in Australia and I see everybody smiling and I see everybody talk about, you know, how grateful they are to be alive and how life is great, that's the kind of mentality and attitude that I want to be surrounded by. Because ultimately the people that we surround ourselves with will have a huge impact on the way we feel and who we become as people. So I feel like I fit in so much more to, you know, the Australian way of life and the culture over here compared to how things were in the UK. I always felt like a weirdo in the UK because I would work so much on my mindset and gratitude, and even if I was having a bad day, I would always show up with a smile. And people just thought I was weird, but I knew deep down that I just didn't want to show up and be unhappy every day because life's too short. So it's really nice over here to feel like people just get me so much more, and I don't feel like an outsider. I just feel like I fit in really well to the lifestyle and to how people think and do things over here. And I also wanted to talk about this community here on YouTube. Honestly, your messages, your comments and your support have made this transition just so much easier. And I feel like my soul family is here in Australia. And I'm so excited to meet like-minded people over here And I think that's gonna have such a huge impact on my life moving forwards. I want you to know that I read all of your comments, and I'm so grateful for every single person that becomes part of our community. So let me talk a little bit about the UK. Not so surprisingly, I don't miss the UK. I miss my friends, of course. If I went back now, it would feel like I was traveling to a foreign country. Isn't that strange? And that I was leaving home to go to a foreign country. Whereas in Australia, I feel like this is my home. And that's after living in the UK for 10 years, because before the UK I was living in Dubai. So Australia already feels like home, and I've said this previously, but it's almost like my soul has been here before, but it almost feels like I've had many lifetimes here, and that I've just come home. My soul has always been here, but now my physical body is just catching up. It's just the weirdest thing. The things that I've absolutely loved here so far is how easy it is to be surrounded by nature and animals. You can go to the beach, the parks, the local reserves, and before you know it, you're surrounded by these beautiful animals, and those interactions are so soothing and calming for the soul. And again, there's something to do with the energy surrounding that, isn't there? If you're an empath, you will get where I'm coming from with this, but sometimes the world can feel quite heavy. And perhaps that was just the UK for me, I'm not sure. But here, the combination of being able to be out in the sun, in nature, amongst animals, has such a profound impact on your mental, emotional, and physical health. It's like nothing I've experienced before. And the energy here, compared to the UK, is lighter. For me, it feels a lot more geared towards sensitive souls. So if you are an empath or a sensitive soul and you're looking for somewhere to live that feels safe and soothing for the soul, recommend Australia, definitely. One thing that I do have to mention is the coffee. Oh my goodness. The coffee here is incredible. The variety, the quality, the care that the baristas put into every single cup is unbelievable. And the price of a cup of coffee over here is very similar to what you'd pay in the UK. I love the fact that there are very few chains over here, you know, like Starbucks. Well, I haven't seen a Costa, but I love the fact that all of these coffee shops are independently owned. Each new coffee shop that I go into has its own feel, its own vibe, and it's so exciting just trying new coffees every day. And one of my main morning rituals is journaling in the morning. I always spend 10 to 15 minutes reflecting, pausing, journaling, and I've been doing that in all of these different coffee shops in the morning, and it's been such a lovely way to just slow down and take a moment, be in the present moment. Once again, that's just so nourishing for the soul. One of the main things that a lot of British people said to me was, oh, Australia's just so expensive, you know, you're going to be paying a lot for groceries and rent and this, that and the other. To be perfectly honest with you, the only thing that I found is more expensive is rent. If I look at things like groceries, coffee, days out, things like cinema passes, or, you know, trips to the wildlife centres that I've made so far, all of those things are either the same as the UK or even a little bit cheaper. And if you don't want to spend money on coffee, you can just make your own at home and take it to the beach, and then you've got a day out pretty much for free. You can take a picnic, make your own sandwiches, so you can spend, you know, as much as you like, and you can experience a very luxurious lifestyle if you like. But if you look at the rent, for example, you could live literally 5 minutes from the beach and pay double what you would pay if you were just to drive 10 minutes inland, or even walk 10 minutes further inland. So there are ways to spend less, but I would definitely say salaries are a lot higher. Cost of living, apart from rent, is pretty much the same as in the UK or a little bit less. And then the last thing I wanted to cover was a little bit about being an empath and finding calm over here. So from past experiences, being an empath and living somewhere brand new can feel really overwhelming, especially somewhere like Dubai. I lived in Dubai for 6.5 years approximately. Completely different vibe to Australia. So here with nature, the sunlight every day, quiet moments, I actually just feel really, really calm. So again, things like morning cycles by the beach, walks in the park, sitting in the sun with the birds chirping around me, all of those things really help me to process and release any kind of unwanted energy, and that's so therapeutic. And once again, I really want to reiterate this point. I think the main difference and the main thing that I'm super appreciative that I've found is the energy here. If you can relate to this, please let me know in the comments, because I don't want to sound like I'm just talking woo-woo stuff, but you know, the vibe, the either an energy in a person or in a city is heavy, it's unsettling, it's turbulent, chaotic, and then if you're an empath, you absorb those same energies, and then you just feel very on edge and stressed. What I found here is the vibe or the energy is very calming, grounding, nourishing, safe, comforting, the complete opposite basically to what I've experienced for the last 10, 20, 30 years. And that so far has made such a huge impact on how I feel about myself, how I feel day to day, and how I make decisions as well. Because I think when we come from a place of feeling safe and grounded and creative, we make better life decisions for ourselves. Whereas if we're constantly in a state of stress, you know, that fight, flight, sympathetic nervous system response, that creative part of our brain just shuts down, doesn't it? And then we rely on the prefrontal cortex, which is more about logical decision making, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think what's beautiful here is when you're relaxed and when you're in a creative state, then yeah, your decisions flow better, you feel calmer, you feel happier, you have improved health. So I'm very, very, very grateful for that. And I don't think I could have anticipated to feel this calm, because I can get, you may not have seen that side of me yet, but I can get quite stressed with work and just life in general. So to be able to just find spaces and places and moments to have moments where I can just reconnect to myself and ground myself and just chill, that feels very, very nice. So as I wrap up this little 14-day catch up, I just want to say how grateful I am for this place, for you guys watching. Ultimately, these first 2 weeks over here in Australia have reminded me of something so simple but extremely powerful, that life doesn't have to be complicated to be fulfilling. Presence, intuition, and all of the small joys that we can find here are what make life so rich. I honestly feel more grounded and more like myself here than what I've done in years, and that is such a gift. My hope is that by sharing my journey, it inspires you, even in some small way, to just pause and reconnect with those little moments wherever you are that also bring you connection and peace. So thank you so much for watching and for your encouragement, and also for being such a kind and supportive community. Here's to life, here's to slowing down, enjoying all the beautiful moments that we can create in this life. And I just can't wait to share more of my adventures with you. As soon as I get this car, I'm going to be traveling to all of the places that you've recommended, including Springbrook National Park, Lamington National Park, Brisbane hopefully as well. I've also booked a trip on Friday to go kayaking, and hopefully see some dolphins. If you have any more recommendations, leave them in the comments below, and I will post my next vlog in the next few days with this week's adventures. Thank you for being here, and I will see you soon. Bye.